Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into what I think is a thrilling, high-stakes mystery hiding right in plain sight within the global financial system. Think about it. Every single day, literally trillions of dollars zip across the globe. They're bouncing between bank accounts, mobile apps, international wires, you name it. But behind all those glowing numbers on your screen lies this foundational concept. It's a concept that basically determines whether a transaction is just normal, everyday commerce or, well, something much darker. So we're going to unpack this idea of the originator and figure out why it's the absolute ultimate anchor of payment transparency. All right, let's just get right to it. Who is really sending the money? Now, I know that sounds like a ridiculously simple question, right? I mean, if John's name is on the account, John is sending the funds, boom, done. But in the complex world of professional financial crime, the answer isn't always just the name stamped on the account. To really understand the flow of funds, we have to look past that surface level and ask ourselves, who's actually pulling the strings here? To figure that out, we need to draw a hard line between two totally different concepts. On one hand, we've got the visible account holder. That's just the name or the business where the funds are physically coming out of. But on the other hand, we've got the real initiating party. This is the actual person or maybe an entity who hit go on the transfer of those funds. This distinction, it's literally the bedrock of modern financial compliance. And honestly, as we'll see, it's exactly where things get super tricky for regulators and investigators.
Section 1. Who really sent the funds? The illusion of the account number.
So relying purely on an account number is honestly a pretty dangerous illusion when we're talking about financial crime. Let's look at a standard direct deposit. NACHA, the group that governs the ACH network, actually defines the employer, not the bank, as the true originator. The bank is really just the middleman facilitating the transfer. So if you're only staring at the bank's account number, you are completely missing the true sender. Section 2. Defining the true originator. Consulting the global rulebook. Okay, so what exactly is an originator? Simply put, it's the person or entity that initiates a payment or transfer of funds. And hey, this isn't just some fluffy industry jargon. This definition is hard-coded into the entire global financial system by major regulatory bodies. For domestic ACH payments, NACHA says the originator is the consumer or business agreeing to initiate transactions into the network. On a global scale, the Financial Action Task Force, the FAT, defines it in their wire transfer standards as the account holder requesting the transfer. Or, if there isn't an account, it's whoever placed the order with the financial institution. The main takeaway here, it's all about who is making the request, not just where the money happens to be resting at the moment. And this perfectly explains why FATF's Recommendation 16 is such a massive deal in the compliance world. This rule focuses heavily, and I mean heavily, on making sure that complete originator and beneficiary information travels right alongside every single cross-border transfer. Why? Well, think about it. A payment instruction is practically impossible to assess if a bank can't figure out who actually started it, who they sent it on behalf of, and if that person is even acting consistently with what they said the transaction was for. The whole system of global wire transfer rules is basically built around this one principle: unmasking the true originator. Section 3. The criminal smokescreen. Obscuring the trail. Now, criminals are fully aware of all this, and they actively layer transactions to hide the real initiating party from the authorities. It's like a giant shell game. They follow a very deliberate step-by-step playbook to smash that chain of transparency. Step 1, they compromise an otherwise perfectly legitimate account. Step 2, they bring in third-party senders to actually move the money. And by step 3, they've achieved their ultimate goal. They have successfully obscured the true originator. At this point, the visible account holder and the real initiating party are completely disconnected. To pull off this crazy smokescreen, criminals deploy an absolute arsenal of camouflage. I'm talking mule accounts, everyday individuals who are recruited to transfer stolen money on behalf of someone else. They'll use wildly complex third-party payment initiators. They'll hide behind shell entities that literally only exist on a piece of paper. Add in some compromised, hijacked accounts and heavily layered payment setups, and you've got a massive headache for investigators. All these tactics are used for one specific reason: to make absolutely sure that the visible sender you see and the real mastermind pulling the strings have zero visible connection. So, because of this intense, constantly shifting criminal smokescreen, everything really boils down to just one core question for financial professionals: who is really sending the money? Verifying the originator isn't just a box to check. It becomes the single most important operational question to figure out if a payment is legit, suspicious, or straight up illegal. Originator info isn't some boring administrative formatting rule in a payment message. It is literally the key to solving the entire puzzle. Moving on to Section 4, 3 Pillars of Control, the Arsenal of Financial Institutions. How do banks fight back against all that camouflage? They use originator transparency as a weapon across 3 main pillars of control. First up, sanctions compliance. Banks have to screen originators to ensure they aren't accidentally moving money for an unknown sanctioned sender or some prohibited regime. Second is fraud prevention. If there's some kind of anomaly with the originator, that is a massive red flag. It triggers alerts for things like account takeovers, business email compromise, or just unauthorized ACH abuse. And the third pillar is anti-money laundering, or AML monitoring. Compliance teams are constantly looking for repeated transfers from inconsistent or weirdly obscured originators, which strongly points to layering or money mule activity. Basically, the originator data is what triggers the alerts that keep the entire financial system secure. Now, it is super important to realize that even if a domestic ACH transfer looks completely valid on the surface, it can still be incredibly deceptive. I mean, the numbers might add up perfectly, the account might have plenty of funds, but if there are anomalies in how the originator is behaving, it can expose an unauthorized transfer or show that someone is deceptively fronting for another party. Let's be real. A valid debit means absolutely nothing if the apparent originator is actually acting without authority.
Section 5. The anchor of transparency, the foundational concept.
Without a totally clear, reliable picture of who is kicking off that payment chain across different jurisdictions, financial institutions effectively go blind. They completely lose their essential audit trails, their ability to assess whether funds are legitimate, gone. Detecting suspicious activity totally falls apart. Sanctions compliance becomes basically impossible, and investigative traceability across different countries, it just vanishes into thin air. Honestly, if you don't know who started the chain, you simply cannot protect the system. Our source material summarizes the stakes absolutely perfectly with this quote. Originators should be understood not as a minor payment field label, but as one of the key anchors of payment transparency and financial crime control. That really hits the nail right on the head, doesn't it? We're not just talking about boring data entry here. The whole concept of the originator is a frontline weapon against global crime. It is the only way we can ensure the modern financial system remains safe and transparent for all of us. So the next time you open up your banking app, type in $20 for pizza and confidently tap send to authorize that quick transfer. Maybe take a second to ask yourself, what invisible checkpoints and complex security rules is your payment triggering right at that exact moment? Because behind the scenes, massive global systems are working instantly to verify that the person tapping that button is the true originator and not some ghost in the machine. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, keep your eyes open the next time you hit send.